Vanakkam, Namaskara. So greetings to you all. I always love to come to Trivandrum. It's probably the best quality of life in all of India. I actually don't like to say it out too loud because I don't want to jinx it. Because, what is the tweet coming out of Bangalore or Mumbai or even Chennai? Every single entrepreneur complaining about quality of life, all of that. Kerala has got a nice secret, and so it's all over Kerala. I would say all over. So that's something that's worth preserving. In fact, that is, if there is a single biggest advantage Kerala has, is the depth of the talent pool and the quality of life it can offer. If you combine the two, you can create a really huge R&D hub for India and the world. And of course, you will attract talent from all over India because attracted by that quality of life here. And so that would be the vision that's a real advantage. And to do this, I'm going to offer a blueprint. It's my personal what I would do, how I would go about this. And right now, where is the opportunity? It is not anymore in building yet another software, pure play, all of that. Because with all of the AI, in fact, last 3 years, we have not hired very many software engineers. They're hiring very few because definitely the productivity revolution is coming there. So the future jobs are not going to be just writing code. AI is going to write a lot of that code, and we are seeing it ourselves. And I'm also working in technologies that could raise the productivity massively. But technology is not just about software. There is layers and layers and layers. And there is so much work to be done for India both to catch up and lead the world. And I will start with the most foundational layer for all of technology today, the silicon, semiconductor ecosystem. Today, the first time now, we are getting a fab ready. Maybe in the next 2 years, a fab will come on stream in India. It's absolutely vital that we gain control of this technology. I'm all for international cooperation, but at the same time, we cannot allow ourselves to be bullied. And that's what is happening right now in the world. And so we cannot let our sovereignty be held hostage by anyone else. We have our difficult environment here, and we don't go lecture other countries how they should run their business. And we don't like to be lectured by anybody else either. I think that's a fair ask, So India is not the one lecturing the world on how they should conduct themselves. And we don't appreciate lectures, We run a very vibrant democracy here. And this, Kerala state is evidence. It's run by a party that's very much in opposition. Still Kerala is thriving. And we may have our ideological differences, but this is a country that is a very powerful democracy, an example to the world. So let's say that we don't like lectures from other people on this. And it's not just stopping with lectures, right? Threats. And that's why we need our technology independence today. We need to gain control of critical technologies because otherwise we are being held hostage. Who should we buy our oil from? And which other country's war should be affecting us, right? And whose terror attacks should we be silent about? These are the lectures we get. So I think that should be very clear to anyone that these are and the answer to all of that today is technology independence, technology sovereignty. And let's be very clear, as Indians, there is no national sovereignty without technology sovereignty today. If we don't gain control of critical technologies that start with silicon, where the chips are made, what goes into those chips, where is the fab equipment. And I'll give you an example. We talk about GPUs. And a friend, Minister Balagopal ji mentioned about the GPU chips. All of India has a quota of 50,000 GPUs today. And XAI alone has about 500,000 going towards 1 million. They don't disclose the full numbers, but about 1 million chips. All of India can get only 50,000 chips, no matter whether we are ready to pay or not. Basically, this is a form of digital colonialism, nothing else. And that's why we should reject this. which is why we should design our own chips. I'm very happy to report we have invested in a company right here in Trivandrum to design the next generation of chips in this area. And it will take time. It will take time, but we will get there. We have awesome talent. I'm very impressed with the team, Netra Semiconductor. These people are going to get us there in the next 5-10 years. And similarly, we have, in Kottarakara, we are doing some very good R&D work in robotics. We also have some very good AI team there, and that's applying some of our own innovative technologies to translate across languages. That work is happening very much in Kottarakara right now. There's about, we have grown to about 75 engineers there. We are going to grow rapidly. I think it's going to become about 200, 250 in the next year and a half. That's one of the fast-growing divisions of Zoho right now. I'm also very happy that it's only 2 hours for me to get there. Each flow, the flow from Tenkasi to Kottarakara is only about 2 hours. So it's very easy. And this is the kind of work we need to do. And I'm going to offer you a blueprint in this, what we should learn from. See, a lot of today, in fact, I'm going to offer you first a sobering lesson. Venture capital arrived in India 30 years ago, 35 years ago. Bangalore has had a lot of venture capital going in. We have not produced a single major global player yet in 30 years. Why is that? We must ask that question. And I'm going to offer you my own perspective on it. The reason is we have tried to superficially copy Silicon Valley models. And that does not work. In fact, copying the Silicon Valley model has not worked even within America, in other regions. Other regions of America have tried to copy. There is Silicon Alley, Silicon Gulch, Silicon this or Silicon that. None of them have really succeeded. So trying to copy that model will not work. And you have to understand why there is only one place that can actually attract or essentially buy talent from anywhere in the world. Today, Meta is willing to offer a $100 million signing bonus for a leading AI talent. If there's a leading AI engineer right here in Trivandrum, in 3 days they'll find themselves in Meta and they might get a $20 million signing bonus. No other place can offer that in the world. That person could be from Trivandrum, it could be from Tokyo, it could be from anywhere. Silicon Valley has the ability to buy the talent. So what you see as Silicon Valley is really that bought talent put together that way. That model can work for one place. It cannot work for everywhere else. It cannot produce a domestic ecosystem. This is not how Japan built its tech prowess. And keep in mind, in the industries that I'm navigating right now, for example, in electric motors and battery technology, a lot of that, very, very critical technologies are in Japan still. In fact, I sent a investment team recently to Japan to study the technologies, to bring some of this, license some of the technologies and bring it back here. That is the idea we have gone. Some very critical technologies are still almost only made in Japan. For example, if you want magnet-free motors, some very good technology is there in Japan right now. Permanent magnet-free motors. So these are and similarly, if you look at semiconductor equipment, there's 2 really big ones, an ASML in Germany, and then there is Tokyo Electron and the derivatives in Japan. So ASML is in Netherlands. So those are the companies that are doing the most critical work for semiconductor manufacturing. And the culture of building these is what we have to study. How are they built? And if you trace back this whole origin of this, I'm going to give you a little bit of history here. And this all goes back to actually Germany, very interestingly. If you look at, for example, there is a book, How Asia Works. I would strongly urge everyone to study this book in India. This is one book that all of the entrepreneurs in India should study, How Asia Works. That's the name of the book. And it traces the origin of how Japan emerged as a leading industrial power, and then followed by South Korea and Taiwan, and then followed by China, recent emergence of China. All of these, if you go trace back their emergence to Germany. And the way it happened was in 1869, Japan had this whole big event called the Meiji Restoration. They overthrew the feudal era of Japan ended with the Meiji Restoration. And then in 1870s, Japan had this, how do we catch up with the West problem, similar problem to what we have faced in India. And they picked Germany as the model to study because Germany had been catching up with the UK then. UK was the first industrial power. At that time, it was widely assumed that the continental Europe will forever be backward. They will never catch up with the superior Anglo-Saxons. And Germany was the first non-English power to catch up. So Japan was studying them. And this goes back to economics too. The quintessential English economist is Adam Smith. And Germans had an answer to Adam Smith, Frederick List. List championed a different school of economics that's called the national school. That means you have to build up a national strength in industry. And Adam Smith was a free trader in a sense. But you can actually afford to be a free trader if you have lots of things to sell. If you cannot be a free trader when you don't have anything to sell, you have to make something to sell, And that's a very important distinction. You will only be a free trader if you have lots of things to sell. If you only know how to buy, you have nothing to sell, you cannot be very much a free trader. That's really what Frederick List taught, essentially, that we have to make something in order to take part in other people's free trade. And this school of economics is what spread in Japan. And Japan was the first industrial power in Asia. And then from Japan, it went to South Korea and Taiwan because they were actually occupied by Japan. And through Taiwan and South Korea example, the Chinese essentially followed the same blueprint. So it is actually a 150-year journey of that whole thing is what we see in this. Now let's come to India. We were unfortunately colonized by the British. So we had the English school of economics here. Almost no economist here knows about Frederick List or any of the German schools or the Japanese experience here. And then after 1947, we had a little bit of Soviet flirtation, I should say, which ended in 1991. And then from there, we moved our allegiance to the American School of Economics, the Washington Consensus. The Washington Consensus is completely unsuitable for India. It makes no sense at all for a country like us with not much of a technology to sell to be a free trader, which is what they encouraged. And that is the environment in which all our venture capital grew up. That will simply copy whatever worked in Silicon Valley. All that we end up doing is be a B team or a training ground for Silicon Valley to acquire. That's what we ended up doing, for talent to be acquired on the cheap. And I'll tell you what is the essence of colonial economics. You sell your raw material cheap, in our case brains, and you buy the finished product expensively, in our case the technology products. If you look at the NVIDIA GPU, the guts of a lot of that is designed by Indians, both in India and in Silicon Valley. We don't even get access to the product. It's colonial economics to the core of this. And that is why we must first study newer models. And if you look at Zoho, for about 35 years, I've relentlessly studied Japan. My examples came from Japan and Germany. And so we are probably, I'm proud to say, we'd probably be the only first uniquely Japanese company in India, in a way. That style of Japanese thinking is what I have actually inculcated in Zoho. And that is still operating in Tenkasi. You come to our Tenkasi operation, you will see the same, a kind of an essence of Japan there. In fact, we do bring people from our Japan office now to Tenkasi often, for that reason. So this is I think the model has to be studied. In other words, the lesson I want to incorporate here is, don't superficially assume Silicon Valley, it worked for them, it will work here. It will not. We have tried it for 30 years. We'll try for another 30 years, we'll declare that it won't work. Because we have to understand where we are today. And for a lot of these technologies, I tell you why Japan is still ahead, unmatched. There are engineers there working 20, 30, 40 years on core problems. That expertise is unmatched. In fact, the American automotive industry would have entirely died except for one man, Elon Musk. If not for Elon Musk, the American auto industry is dead today. It's Elon Musk who, by the electrical EV revolution, who essentially rescued the US auto industry as a whole. Because the Japanese had completely won. And now even that success is probably about to be surrendered to the Chinese. The Chinese EVs are so good now, and that they pose a serious threat to the American dominance in this. And again, if you look at the Chinese engineering talent, there is a lot of the Japanese blueprint they are following there. They have very long-term focus on this. They have 10, 15, 20 years of work on these. Some of the battery technologies they are coming out with is really impressive what they are doing in China. The best EVs today are found in China. The best charging stations, the best chargers, they are all in China today. It's all the fruits of that long-term focus on R&D. We have to learn from these examples. Don't let a flashy LLM or something misguide you, because a flashy LLM is not going to produce the chips. Even, in fact, I'll offer you this interesting, instructive thought. The two leading silicon companies, the chip companies, AMD and NVIDIA, and now Intel, they're all led by Chinese or Taiwanese. Why is that? Because there is a particular engineering DNA in this. And that mindset is what is coming in these companies. And that's why they are leading. It's a strength of America that they are able to attract the Taiwanese to lead American companies. Are we going to be able to do that in India? So, which is why we need to build up these systems and that mindset to build that long-term engineering. And I'll offer you one parting thought in this. The best companies build their own tools. Most of my time in software is building tools the engineers use. My products never ship, I build tools for other engineers to use inside. Tool making is very vital because it's tool making that creates a very strong domestic ecosystem. When you buy a Swiss watch, you are not just buying a Swiss watch. You are actually buying the tooling that went into that Swiss watch. There are tool makers really, and then the watch is the finished product. That what you see is the finished product, but you have to be tool makers behind. It is that ecosystem you have to produce. That's what I'm trying to produce in the southern region between Kerala and Tamil Nadu. I'm harvesting both set of talent, native talent that's available here from our own colleges, from our own schools, all of it. We do have plenty of talent, but we have to apply them the right way. So that's all I have to say. With this, I'm really I'm confident we can do this. We have the talent here, but we must approach it the right way. So that's all I have to say. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.